Welcome back. With it being Black History Month, some people may want to learn how they can help move things forward when it comes to racial equality in our country. Reading about it is a good place to start. Onika Asamoah Caesar is the owner of Fulton Street Books here in Tulsa, and she has some book recommendations for how we can be a better ally to the Black community. Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here with you all.
Well, and I think this is really important. I think the first step to understanding each other is to learn about about culture and about the things that are important to both sides. So you created back in 2020 something that was called the Ally Box. Tell me how that came to be.
Yes, so in the wake of the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, as a bookstore who centers the stories, the narratives, and the lived experiences of people of color, we were receiving a lot of requests from folks to understand more about the history of this country, to understand more about race. And so our response to that massive inquiries was to create something called the Ally Box to really streamline book recommendations and resources for folks who wanted to know how they could be better allies to the Black community. And that was a 3-month book subscription that we did.
How was that received?
It went viral. We had more orders than we ever imagined that we would. We were shipping all across the country, and we also created an online platform for folks to follow along as well. We were featured on so many news platforms, magazines, newspapers, all of the things. It was a bigger response than we ever imagined.
That's great. Now, you don't do those anymore, but you are making books available for people, kind of highlighting and showcasing books that we would want to read this month.
Yeah, so we do still offer the Ally Box. Folks can purchase just on a one-off basis, and we continue to support and highlight books that are featuring information about race and really centering those marginalized voices in this country.
Well, I know when we were getting ready for the commemoration of the massacre, there were a lot of books that came into being, and I know a lot of us were trying to get a hold of things. You know, someone like me who's born and raised in Tulsa had no idea about the massacre until I was in college, and that was something that I certainly was not proud of. But with these books available, it really helps you better understand what happened. Tell us about some of the books that you might recommend for me to read this month.
Yeah, I mean, I think for you and anyone, there are some really, really good books that we're excited about. A new book that is out by Imani Perry is called South to America. Imani Perry is a daughter of the South herself, and she's really pushing us to understand the complexities of this country and saying that in order for us to do that, we really have to look below the Mason-Dixie line or to the South to understand the heart of America. And it's a beautifully written story. I would also say Bell Hooks. We lost her in December of last year, and she was an amazing woman, feminist, revolutionary writer. And one of the books that stands the test of time, I would say all of her books stand the test of time, but definitely All About Love would be a book that I would recommend for anyone. And then Toni Morrison. Recently, there have been a few stories on a short story that Toni Morrison wrote. It's the only short story she's ever written in her career. And the name is a little bit hard to pronounce, and I think I got it. It's Recitative. And it is a story that addresses race by removing race entirely from the story. So you don't have those visuals of the characters, but it is a story that challenges, I think, our assumptions about who we are, and especially, you know, looking at the characters in the story, it's going to be interesting for anyone to read. And then I would say, lastly, Ibram Kendi, How to Be an Anti-Racist. Absolutely, hands down, for anyone looking to read on race, that one is going to be one of my top recommendations as well.
How important do you think it is for people to kind of investigate and learn more about each other? What can that do?
Oh man, I'm a bookseller, so I'm biased, but I think that by reading the stories of other folks, by understanding across cultural boundaries, by really understanding the lives that we live and how sometimes we live very different lives, even though we live in the same country, we can start to understand the root of some of the issues that we're facing collectively, because racism affects us all, right? It's not an issue that is delegated to the Black community. family or the brown community, it also impacts white folks as well. And so I think understanding each other allows us to peel back some of the barriers that we have consciously and subconsciously created between one another. And so as a bookseller, I think that books are a great way to start understanding each other, to start learning about cultures, about people, about places that may not be readily available to you. As a young person, books allowed me to see other worlds. And I think as adults, we forget that they still have the power to do that.
Absolutely. Onika, thank you for your time this morning. I want to let folks know Fulton Street Books and Coffee open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6 at 210 West Latimer Street. And I know Onika would be more than happy to help you find the books that she mentioned today.